Hej och välkomna till dagens rapportintervju med Sensys Gatso. Tillsammans med mig här i studion har jag Ivo Mönnink som är VD på bolaget. Ivo pratar engelska så att därför kommer vi övergå till engelska härifrån. Ivo, warm welcome to the Carnegie studio. Great to have you here, and also great that you are visiting Stockholm today despite that you are based in the Netherlands.
Thank you.
For most of the time. First, a short introduction. Sensys Gatso, what is that? And can you also touch a bit on the briefly on your history?
Okay. Well, Sensys Gatso is a market leader in automated traffic enforcement, meaning sending out citations to people that are speeding. I'd like to say my role is saving people's lives, because we know that speeding leads to losses of lives in traffic. So it's our mission to try to change the traffic behavior. We've been doing that for like 65 years. And we have basically, it's a merge of two companies. One is Gatsometer, that's the inventor of the box, if you like, worldwide. So the global inventor of the speed enforcement system. And then there is Sensys. Sensys is the inventor of the Vision Zero solution, which is now adopted globally. So we have around 600 million revenue globally in across the world. We're in America, we're in Europe, we're in Australia, we're in the Middle East, and we do that with around 300 people.
Okay, thank you very much. You have just reported the third quarter for this year, and the quarter was a bit slower in year, but still very healthy from a year-to-date perspective. And how would you like to describe this quarter and also year-to-date from an overall perspective?
Yeah, I think you're right. It was a bit slow, but it's got to do with timing. We were expecting the traffic fair order to be delivered to the market, so that has now been postponed. Maybe talk about it a little bit later. And we were also expecting the orders from the Saudi or the Middle East customer to also start coming in earlier. That has been a little bit postponed. So I think it's more or less timing related that we have a somewhat slower quarter this time around. Mm.
And on year-to-date perspective, how would you like to describe your performance there?
Yeah, I'm most proud of the fact that we have a 55% year-to-date higher order intake than a year ago, and what's even more important, that 70% of that order intake is actually recurring managed services business, which is mostly from the United States business, and that's one of the key strategy for the company, is to grow that part of our business. So we are tracking nicely in that area.
Sounds good. Can you touch also, you touched upon order intake, but can you also touch a little bit on your backlog? Where is that based, and how much of that have you already delivered?
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest part of the backlog I would describe as being two big contracts we brought in 2022 in the Netherlands and in Sweden. The one in the Netherlands is about 400 million Swedish kroner. The one in Sweden 850 million. And only 12% of these orders have been today delivered. So that means that there's a backlog there of more than 1 billion still in our books to be delivered over a period of time. So, yeah.
Thanks. And it's also important to understand the mix, and maybe you can describe your three revenue streams, and also how that mix between these revenue streams are impacting your margins, in particular your gross margins.
Okay. So we have, if you talk about three revenue streams, we distinguish between system sales, which is only delivering the systems into the field. Those systems then need to be maintained and repaired over a longer period of time, and that is recurring revenue. That would be at a higher margin. And the system sales delivery are typically, because it's tender business, at a lower margin. So in the mix, it's a healthy business, but the balance would be more from a margin perspective, more towards the recurring repairs and maintenance part than towards the delivery of the systems. And then the third stream is what we call managed services, which is where we do the complete installation of the systems and maintaining them, and then sending out the citations and collecting the funds and dividing them between us and the customer, which is the model we operate in the United States. And there the margins are significantly better than what we see in any other two revenue streams. Mm. Yeah.
And to conclude that the system sales were a bit higher in the quarter, and that also impacted the margin a bit negatively.
Absolutely.
In a relative sense.
Yeah, I mean, we did start If you look at the revenue, a large part of that is the rollout of the system sales of the Dutch order, and that would be at lower margins. That's correct. Yeah.
Turning to the balance sheet, you have taken some important steps in restructuring your debt structure. Can you describe this shortly, and what you want to achieve with this new debt financing?
Well, what we want to achieve, of course, is to finance our growth plan. And we've stated that for a long time, is that the company was underfinanced to be able to absorb larger contracts like we've seen in the Middle East, but also for the Dutch and the Swedish contract, plus the fact that we want to grow in the United States. And growing in the United States means that we install in fixed equipment in the field. That's ours. So that requires capital. So if you want to grow in the United States, you need capital. So we managed to raise a bond of 30 million euro under a framework of 60 million. So that's quite a significant amount of money we can actually tap into also in the future. And the conditions are that it's a tenor of 4 years, and it's a euro bond plus 4.75%. So it's a good financing tool for us to realize the growth ambition we have, which is mostly growing our recurring revenue business in the United States.
Okay, thank you very much. You have touched upon the US, and you have a large part of your business in the US. Can you shortly, you have described it, so we can skip that part, but can you touch a little bit upon the recent events when it comes to legislation changes in Iowa, and also if you foresee an impact from the recent elections?
On Iowa, I would say I think what is good is that Iowa actually came in line with the other states in terms of state legislation about how to go about automated traffic enforcement. So there are now rules around where you can deploy it, so the sites. There are rules about the threshold, and there are now rules about the maximum amount that you can fine for. And that was a bit of a maybe Wild West up until now. What happened next is that the Iowa Department of Transportation decided that the sites which were operational did not qualify, not all of them. So the red light sites, yes, all 52 were qualified. The majority of the mobile sites where we can do mobile speed enforcement were also allowed for, but a minority of the fixed speed were not allowed. So we're now working with the cities and support them legally and operationally as well to appeal for these suspensions of the camera. So that's going to take some time, but we do see this as a potential also. Well, first of all, it's a good thing, as I said in the beginning, that these changes have taken place, but it means also that we can build from that new relationship with the cities, because we need to repair this. So this is what's happening in the, I would say, in the coming 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
On the second topic, which is the elections, right?
Yes.
We all know that Mr. Trump will become the next president, and he's a Republican. He was in office before, and we did not see an impact. So when I talked to our team in the States, they were saying, well, we don't expect it. But again, this is politics, sure, so you never know. But the initial reaction is, well, we don't expect this.
Okay.
Another reason for that is that many cities, that once they have adopted speed enforcement, it becomes part of the budgetary process. So giving it up is sometimes difficult.
And it's also
not always.
And it's also a good thing because it saves lives. So it reduces the costs for medical care and other benefits, good for environment and so on and so forth.
Absolutely, it's actually a fact that up until 3% of the gross national product goes into the costs related to traffic fatalities and injuries. So it's a lot of cost saving you can do through using our systems.
And it's also a bad thing from a human perspective, and it's to reduce that, it's really a good thing. Yeah. Looking ahead, you have made some comments on your road to 2025. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and what you foresee?
Well, as I said, we will start the traffic figure rollout slower, so that's pushed out into 2025. The ramping up is not yet 100% clear how that will work. We have qualified for 4 solutions in Saudi with our customer there. We expect orders to come from that market anytime soon. There will also be an SLA for the vehicle in motion from that same customer. Hasn't started, but we expect that to come into 2025. So, and then, you know, the repairs we're going to do on the Iowa project and the new contracts which are kicking in the United States will also have an effect in 2025. So what I see is there is maybe some timing risks, but it's not affecting our long-term vision about where this company is moving. So we are focusing on the right strategic initiatives, and we're building the business in a structural way. So maybe a little bit of timing risk, but we'll see that when we enter 2025.
Okay. And final question, if we take the real long-term perspective, where do you see the best prospect for creating value in your company?
I would say the US business model. We see the growth potential in the market. We're only in 45 cities in 12 states. We could be in 1,000 cities in 24 states. So there is enormous potential there, but we should also that business model now transmitting into other areas like in Australia and maybe also in Ghana, where we also start doing this same model. So I think that's where the growth in the future will lie for this for the industry, I would even say, but certainly also as a leader in the industry, also for us.
Thank you, Ivo, very much for all this. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
For the future.
Thank you.
Tack ni som har tittat. Det avslutar dagens rapportintervju med Sensys Gatso.